Hey everyone, welcome back to another live episode of the Relevant Recruiter Show. I am your host, Donnie Gupton. We've got the guest host, the monthly guest host, Alexis, joining us today, and special guest, Brandon McGill. Today, we've got a really unique show. We're going to talk about Brandon's work with us, but we're actually going to interview Brandon and let him be the expert today on personal branding and content marketing. So you're going to hear the perspective from a recruiter that's had success with this over the last couple of years on the show. And Brandon recently has just gone out on his own as the civil recruiter. So some exciting stuff that he'll tap into us today. Brandon, you're on hold for a second. We're going to go ladies first. Alexis, how you doing? Thank you for joining me today.
I am great. Love to be here. And I'm so happy to have Brandon here.
Awesome. Brandon, you can go now.
Oh, hi guys. Thanks for the invite for doing this. Obviously, great relationship with you guys, and I'm honored to be here again.
Yeah, man, we're excited, and thank you for taking some time out of the day. We're going to go ahead and dive right into this one. I've gotten some feedback that people just like the meat and potatoes, and so that's what we're going to give them today is the meat and potatoes.
Being from Idaho, I can appreciate the potato side for sure.
Yeah. Well, being from Idaho, absolutely. So if you guys are listening with us live, if you can just let us know that you can hear us, maybe let us know what industry you focus on, tap that reaction button, and feel free to ask any questions while Brandon is talking today so we can get you some great answers. Okay. So starting off, Brandon, why do you think content is so crucial for building a strong personal brand as a recruiter today?
I think I put a little bit of thought into this one, and I think it really just boils down to, especially as a recruiter, I mean, people work with people. I mean, very rarely do they say, oh, well, this is the company I work with. They're saying, this is the recruiter I worked with. And the influence that recruiter had, whether it be good or bad, is what's remembered. So, with starting out and doing my own personal branding, even though I've got the company alongside with it now, it 100% is I'm portraying who I am. This is my personality, whether you connect with me or not. Like, I'm not going to connect with everybody, but I've had a lot of messages from people just saying, hey, I follow your content, or I've seen your stuff. I relate to what you're putting out there and can appreciate it. How can you help me, or can you help us find talent? And it warms up that conversation because they feel like they know me a little bit more, and it's not just a completely cold outreach from either direction.
Great. So I'm curious, in the content part of it, how important do you think consistency is in creating content?
I mean, yes. I mean, having consistent content, being in front of people, because everybody's, like, your audience, whoever they are, always online at totally different times. So, I think I'm posting almost daily now, maybe twice a day, depending on what, how the calendar plays out and the content we're putting out there. But just being consistent. Well, I think when I first started, it was like 2-3 days a week, and now we've ramped up a little bit more, and we're doing 4 or 5, sometimes 6, and I will throw some random ones in there if it's a special holiday or I see a special article. I share that stuff on there that's outside of my typical content schedule.
Awesome. What do you think, like, of the content? One of the big things, obviously, you went through this part of your journey of, well, what do I create? Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that holds a lot of people back, is like, well, what works, what doesn't? So in your experience, you already mentioned that you have like clients and candidates reaching out, talking to you about the content. What types of content do you feel get the most response, or what types of content do you feel people mention the most when talking with you?
Video. That, I mean, it makes a big difference. I even use video in some of my other email outreach stuff. The video content side, people don't get that from your everyday recruiter, so they get another email from some random person that they've never seen or heard from before. And that video, again, just warms it up. They get to see who you are, they get to see a little bit of your personality, and they get to hear your voice. And that's not just I tell people all the time, like, I got that amazing face for the telephone, but now I've transitioned to video, so I can't claim that anymore. But 100% video has been a valuable asset. That's the one that I've gotten the most feedback on, that people are like, hey, I see your stuff, I watch your videos, keep creating good content. as a recruiter, I don't get a lot of feedback or likes or comments on my stuff, just because people are always mindful of who they're commenting on LinkedIn. But on the side or in the background, I get those comments, or when I cold call somebody and I go, hey, I'm Brandon McGill, the civil recruiter, like, oh yeah, I've seen your stuff, and just warms up the conversations.
That's such a great point. I'm curious about engagement. So you obviously creating content, but how important do you think engagement is? How do you engage? And I also I'm leading you into a little bit too. You've been really creative with posting beyond your LinkedIn profile. You post in other places. So tell me about your engagement philosophy and strategy.
I mean, from the sales perspective, right? I mean, touch points is a big aspect. Like, you're not going to sell the person, or very rarely going to sell the person on the first touch point. They don't know who you are. They don't know what you're offering. They don't trust you. So, taking different avenues, getting into my initial LinkedIn page, my company page, specialized groups of my market. I'm starting off with the YouTube side of things to give just other avenues that people can connect with me, see the content from their preferred platform. And, again, it's just those touch points of getting in front of people. It's not always just that one single lane. You have to diversify to cover not to blanket, but just to kind of cover those other avenues that people might be on.
Kind of got a couple of questions here for you. I've had the pleasure, we've been working together for I think almost 3 years now. And, but just for context for the audience, like, how long have you actually been putting yourself out there? And, in our time working together, when you first signed up, you weren't near as aggressive and, comfortable with putting yourself out there yet.
Yeah.
So, do you remember an aha moment where you're like, okay, it's time for me to go all in, or here's why I need to go all in? Like, what was it for you? Like, how long you been doing it, and what was your moment?
I think we are a little over 2 years now that we've been doing it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think really it was I would probably put it on that initial, I got to do this, because I saw the value in it. Like, it maybe didn't pay right away, but again, I always fall back to recruiting is a personal business. If people don't know who I am and they just hear me on the phone or just via email or LinkedIn message, there's not much meat to that conversation or the relationship, because they don't know who I am. They've never seen me. They never any of the above. So I saw the value in it because it is that more of a personalized, people can relate a little bit more when they see my personality, how I talk, my demeanor, I guess you could say. And it's brought a lot of people, it's earned me a lot of respect in different conversations with clients, because they see that I know what I'm talking about and I'm a real person. I don't try to oversell or undersell. I just set realistic expectations and off to the races we go. And that's been my mentality. And I try to portray that through my content, my videos, and any other feedback I have.
Yeah. Putting yourself out there, there's usually, at least, I mean, from my experience, and I know working with a lot of people, like, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of apprehension, right? There's fear in general of just putting content. And then there's another level of fear of putting yourself on camera.
Yeah.
What's kind of your message to people that might be overthinking it, right? That's facing some of that fear. What did you do to overcome it?
I just kind of dove into it. I mean, it's, I'm a doer. Like, I really don't try to overanalyze things. I'm like, well, let's try it. And if it fails, it fails. And if it works, we'll find a way to make it even better. So that was my initial mindset going into it, was, what's it going to hurt? To just go into this, I'll get better at it. I mean, it's a kind of a craft that you have to still fine tune, but if you don't start, you don't have a starting point, you're always going to wonder, how do I start? What's this going to be? And that hurdle never gets handled. But once you start and you start getting more comfortable and you start realizing, like, oh, there actually is some advantages to doing this. And I'm sure everybody's situation may be different, but I mean, it added 6 figures to my bottom line in the first year of really having this implemented, and that first full year. So I think we started later in the year, in like 2021, maybe was the right timeline. And then I think 2023, I had a record year. So it was that kind of first full year of what's going on. And then Q1 of that first year of having this all in was like insane. Like I wish I could recreate it every quarter, but you know, it's just one of those things. I mean, recruiting goes in fluctuations, but I mean, as long as we're staying consistent with what we do with the content side and we're staying top of mind and relaying ourselves as kind of experts in our fields, I mean, I don't really see a downside.
I love hearing how that evolution has happened for you. And I'm curious, from when we started working together and creating content with you, how do you feel like your content itself has changed, or like what you're talking about, or the way you're talking about, or how do you think that's changed?
I pay more attention to other people's content. I think like I pay more attention to other people's stuff, so I can think like, okay, how does that apply to me, or how can I spin that same concept to be content for myself? You know, because you don't want to just keep rehashing the same topic every time, and that gets old to like everybody. Like even me, I would be like, dude, I'm getting bored talking about the same thing. Just repost the same old video. But I would say that's the biggest thing. Just looking at that is like, okay, how do you come up with ideas for content? You lean on others that are in similar spaces or totally different, but still recruiters, and just seeing what they're talking about and how you can relate that to your market, your specialty, your niche.
Kind of to follow up on that one and dig a little bit deeper, you know, from you personally, like where did you see your biggest up level? Like where, you know, if you were to go back to last year, and you may not know this right off the top of your head, but you like maybe last year there's a story like I would never say that on camera. I would never do that on camera. But now my mindset shifted and now I'm willing to do that. Is there anything that shows up for you with that specifically?
No regrets, Donnie. No regrets. I don't really look back and have that like I don't want to do that again. Like it's all learning, right? So you learn, okay, didn't really get a feedback on that one, or you know, whatever it might be. I mean, I don't feel like I've turned out any bad content, maybe content that wouldn't be the most relevant to everybody.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the point, is if I catch that one ear that relates to, and they're like, I need to talk to Brandon, I've done my job.
Yeah. Awesome. We're with Brandon McGill here talking about his success with personal branding and content. You know, if you're enjoying this interview, if you can go ahead and tap that like button and go into the questions and comments and ask any questions to Brandon, we will make sure that we get them. You know, in this content world, you know, it's certainly something that a lot of recruiters have fully, you know, kind of adopted. Some are put their toe in the water. Some aren't even playing the game. But either way, there's just more and more noise. And one of the things I always talk about is when you're not just competing against other recruiters when you're on digital, you're competing for attention. And that's just kind of the world, no matter what. And one of the things that's always worked for me, and I think that's worked for you, is how do you stay authentic and true to yourself when you're in front of a camera? Like, how do you stay real?
Oh man, again, I think it is just practice, like just getting comfortable and how you talk, how you like your demeanor while you're on camera. You know, I've worked with Alexis on this one of like, what do we put in the background? What shirts do I wear? What, you know, I got a haircut this week. I shaved, you know, all the things that you kind of have to take into consideration when you're going to be doing content creation. And I mean, it's kind of it's all encompassing with that. It's like it's just a kind of a preparation and wrapping your head around it, and it gives you the confidence to get in there and just do it. I think the biggest thing is just being comfortable with yourself and your situation to go represent yourself accordingly.
So if somebody was hesitant, you would say
just try it. I mean, you don't have to post every video that you do. Create some videos. I think when I first did it, I did like 4 or 5 recordings before I was like, wow, I sound stupid. And I would go back and redo it and check my cadence and do all those things. But, you know, I think most of us in sales, you know, we have a script in some way, shape, or form that we at least started with, and we've now made our own. I think that's a lot of the same. Is you start with hey, okay, here's your checklist of things that you should be aware of. Now go make it your own and get comfortable with
it. So I'm curious, like if you think back for the last couple of years, like how do you feel like building your brand has affected your business? Like tell me at the root of it, how do you feel like it's affected it?
Game changer for me. You know, I've had situations where I've called into companies and I'm Brandon McGill, and they're like, don't call us back. We know who you are. I'm like, okay, well, fair enough. Like the downside to this, right, is people will know who you are at all levels. So, but I would say, most recently, like obviously you guys mentioned, I went out on my own as the civil recruiter now, and I haven't made really a single business development call since I did that. And my desk is so busy because people saw that I'm a geotechnical recruiter. I've opened up my candidate pool because I'm no longer a part of a company. And I'm getting to the point where it's I either have to figure out other ways to source and just to get my capacity back, or I have to start turning away business because I don't have capacity. And that's purely because of online content. People have found me and I just get to recruit.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And I'm sure there's a lot of folks that are listening that would like that. So like, I think this is something that I know for you is kind of, now you've experienced it, so you know what it looks like, but like, what does it look like? You've already kind of mentioned it a couple of times, but like, what does the success for you look like? You've mentioned, okay, it's, you know, people saying that they've seen me, but like, what are all the different ways that you can actually say, yeah, this is how it's working. So other people can go like, yeah, that's what I want.
That's what you want. Yeah. I mean, I think it warms up candidates. It warms up potential clients. You know, a lot of my outreach on LinkedIn and stuff that I'm doing is more candidate focused. I mean, a lot of those end up being like, I talk to a senior engineer of some sort and they go, hey, we're actually looking, can you help me? Mm-hmm. And it's not a hard, like, I'm going to punch you and punch you and punch you until you cave and decide to use me. I present myself as a professional within the space. I connect with them. They see who I am and what I specialize in. And eventually that warms up to having a conversation, and, conversation is turned into placements, whether that be on the candidate side or the client side.
So do you see clients actually reaching out to you in your LinkedIn inbox or email and saying, hey, Brandon, I've seen you. Can we work?
Yeah, I get phone calls.
Okay.
And it definitely is a two-way street. Like, it works great for candidates because they warm up, and I've had guys reach out to me that are, 15-year engineers, and they don't have time necessarily to go job hunt.
Right.
But then they realize that I specialize in their niche, and they reach out to me and they say, hey, can you help me? Let me know when somebody's interested to talk to me. And it, becomes an MPA or MPC situation. Right. And so, it ends up turning into a new client potentially as well, because that company sees that that's the type of candidates we're working with, and they say we need more in other places. So it's kind of a all-encompassing, everything kind of snowballs into just what you would hope to be overall good situations.
And real quick, there's one that just kind of came in, which I think is a good question, is how much time do you dedicate to content versus recruiting?
I live on LinkedIn. So, there's things that will create opposite of, but, I work with Donnie and Alexis on a, I think, monthly basis, right? Is what we're at. Mm-hmm. And we spend an hour and we kind of put together our pre-content plan, and then we dive into it. We create those videos within an hour or hour and a half, depending on how crazy we want to get that month. And within an hour, we have content for essentially, I plan it out to where my content lasts me about a month and a half, so I don't run out and overlap somehow.
Yeah. So with the system, just to answer that, Stuart, is with the system that we're using, he's spending about an hour, let's just call it 2, to be fair, on content a month, and the rest is allows him. And that's one of the parts of our system that Alexis will dive into.
You were just talking, Brandon, about leads. And I think that, we talk with recruiters all the time, and some of their biggest investment of time is hunting, essentially the right kind of clients, reaching out. Do I email? Do I do LinkedIn? Crafting the message, following up. And like what you're saying, that like the content is actually attracting, like you're not hunting in the same, I don't know.
You still kind of do, right? You still have to sell yourself, but it's like pouring honey on yourself in a bear cave of like, hey, I'm here. And they start coming because you're relevant, and you are a potential solution to their problem.
Yeah. I think that's just such a great point, because it takes the time it takes to hunt, find, do, which again, you're doing part of that too.
It takes time. You still have to go do your business development efforts, but it definitely makes it a lot easier when they call you.
Yes. Okay. So obviously we've been working together for a while. So I'm curious, for Brandon's been our client now for
2 years. We'll say 2 years.
2 years. 2 years, yeah. And like Donnie just mentioned, we create Brandon's content for him. We work to do that every month. So I'm curious to ask you some questions about that now too. So how does that like structure and support kind of help you in your content creation, whether that's like mindset stuff, putting yourselves out there, time,
Yeah.
strategy, all of those ways?
Well, I mean, as you guys know, I mean, we're busy recruiters, so our brains are usually tunnel vision recruit, right? The platforms that you guys have, I had mentioned earlier too, is like I keep an eye, I live on LinkedIn. So I see other content that I'd be like, oh, that's actually a good point. I should make something about that. And I put that into our kind of platform that we have for content sharing, content ideas. And then when it comes time, we run through them, we create content around them, or we skip over them and add them for next month or whatever it might be to be the most relevant stuff for that time. But yeah, I think it's just that matter of it's all cohesive. We're all trying to figure out the best content ideas, and you guys help me out with that so that, if I'm brain farting for 1 month, you guys are that support to help me come up with ideas or, expand on previous ideas, whatever that might be. So it's not just on me. You guys just show up to record. You guys definitely are full support throughout the whole process.
And then post recording, let me ask you about the recording itself. So for those of you that do not know, I actually record with our clients. So it's Brandon and I every month talking things out. How does that part of it help you in the process?
Oh, I mean, again, it's just having that extra eyes on stuff because, I mean, there's multiple times where you've told me like, no, you're going to do that again. And it's like, okay, I go back and we redo it or reword something and we do it again. But it's nice just to have that extra feedback and extra eyes that are supportive in that situation to be like, you're not going to put out that content. Like, hey,
I don't say it
restart.
directly.
Hey, we have, and okay, maybe not directly, but even there's times where I like, you start catching me rambling or something and you're like, no, stop, restart, do something else.
Yeah. Okay. And then post process, when you get all the content and you get kind of the text that goes with everything, the format, how is that like post process support and delivery for you?
Super simple. I mean, if I have any questions, you guys have your team that I reach out to for, hey, I don't like this. Can we change that or whatever it might be? I mean, you guys are pretty responsive with stuff like that. And I mean, you give me the full post plan. So it's like, okay, I just go to either LinkedIn. I used Hootsuite for a while, but I kind of got away from it. And now I just schedule my entire content. I mean, it takes me a little bit, probably an hour, maybe 2 hours, depending on how distracted I am. But you just go create your post plan and however often you want to schedule it, but you have it all laid out to be like, here's the, relatively content. There are times where I kind of make it my own if I don't like verbiage or something on it, but it's all relatively done for me and I can make it my own and it's all scheduled out, ready to go.
Yeah. So after working with us for a while and going through this process, what would you say to somebody that's considering using us for their content creation?
I don't see a downside. I mean, that's even when we first started doing this, I know that I was kind of one of the originators for you guys with this whole thing. But I really, even just looking back, like I'm so glad that I made the decision to do it. Yes, it's an initial investment, but I will say that, I mean, just having this has paid for itself probably more than tenfold between candidates coming to me, clients coming to me, all through it. I mean, there is no way that I stop doing this at this point because it just makes too much sense to do it and it pays for itself very easily.
Awesome. Alexis, any other questions from there or?
No, anything that we didn't ask you, Brandon, that you want to tell people about the process or like what you do or create or your brand?
Well, I just think, I mean, a lot of people, I'm maybe of a generation that's like, I'm used to social media. I'm used to videos and selfies and whatever. Like I don't do selfies, but I'm just saying in general, but I'm used to that a little bit just because of, we have cameras on with our kids around a lot. So, I mean, it's just that initial hump of getting used to being on the camera and getting comfortable being on the camera was probably my biggest hurdle. But once I did it, I mean, again, I don't look back. So I look back at now and I go, man, that was stupid. This is, relatively easy at just relaying my knowledge and relaying my personality through video, and people are either going to like it or they don't like it. But the blessing is that I don't have to appease everyone and I don't expect to, but the people I relate with and relate with me, we can have a good relationship and connect, and good things have happened out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't legitimately don't think I've had a single bad thing happen out of this. It's just warmed up conversations across the board.
It's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing your experience working with Aura, but thank you mainly for just sharing with our audience your story around marketing and personal branding. I think it's so powerful for people to hear from somebody like yourself that they can relate with. That's kind of started from the bottom with this and seen a tremendous amount of success, as a result of, playing the long game, having the right mindset, having good people around you and things like that. So thank you for the time being here. Obviously we really appreciate, having you as a client, and you just mentioned, being a part of it from the beginning. So for Alexis and I, that's something that's, really, really important. And thank you. So for those of you that are listening with us live and you want results similar to Brandon, we've got a couple spots open in our program, and we only have a couple slots open for a couple of calls. So we have a free no risk strategy call that you can do with us. And during this call, what we'll do is we'll dive into your current marketing, branding, and lead generation strategies and identify areas of improvement for you. And what we do is we map out a really clear, actionable plan to elevate your business, just like we're able to elevate Brandon's business. And this is a call you want to schedule today. And here's the reason why: because you're going to get immediate clarity and gain crystal clear insights on what's working right now and what's not, and how you can optimize those recommendations. You'll get personalized strategy. So you're going to get something very specific to you and your business that you can take and have action. There's no risk. It's all reward. This call is completely free and designed to provide you with an immense amount of value with no strings attached to it. But here's the catch. There's always a catch, right? We only have a limited amount of time and space. So if you are ready to really start generating, leads from your personal brand and your content, schedule a call with us now. Just drop a comment below, send me a direct message, or send Alexis a direct message, and we can get you on the way, just like we're able to support Brandon with this. So we thank you guys for joining in on the podcast today. If you did find value in this, go tap that like button, leave a comment below. Thank you, Cody, for your comment. Yes, consistency and patience is the name of the game. And there's a pot of gold at the end of it.
Don't expect the immediate. Like if you're looking for that immediate, probably not the best, but long term, if this is what you want to do, I mean, this is no better way to relay yourself and the value you bring to the market. So
absolutely. So go ahead and comment below or send us a DM. We would love to support you. Brandon, thank you. Alexis, thank you.
Bye, you guys.
See you guys.
We'll be back next week. We'll be with Ben Mena talking about the Finish the Year Strong Summit that he's putting on. So you'll get a live preview of that.